this week's episode of We Geek Together podcast, the We Geek Together podcast. My name is Andy.
I'm Everett.
Today we are talking about events, because you just went to two amazing events.
I did. I spent about 14 days on the road.
Just at events.
Just working events, driving a lot, eating lots of fast food.
Yes, so
It was rough.
We're going to talk about that. So we have a few segments in our podcast. The first one is first round of drinks, where we're just going to catch up real quick, and then we have the main course, or the main event, where we're just going to talk about events, and then we'll call for a final round of drinks. But then we have a very special segment. This one's only for people who support the tavern.
Support the membership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Support the tavern. We are going to give you unfiltered. This is going to be called the After Hours Chat.
The after hour drinks.
We're gonna talk unfiltered about what we really feel like is key for businesses to succeed with outside events. But without further ado, let's get into first round of drinks. What's new with you?
Well, as I just mentioned, I've spent the last 14 days on the road. And while I was so happy to be outside doing these events, I am so happy to be back.
Yeah, I bet.
It's, it was, events are a lot of work. Multiple days, back-to-back, 14 to 16-hour days.
That's all you do.
And I'm back. And first
You're
thing
back.
I did, I passed out last night. And now I'm here.
I've been working on the Dead Wars.
Nice.
Yep, that's it. Here's our Dead Wars plug. We're talking about the Dead Wars, the biggest game of D&D ever played. I've been working hard on that.
I am so excited about this year's Dead Wars.
So terrified.
I mean, stuff is starting to come together, though.
Oh, yeah.
Merch is starting to come in.
Everything's lining up. There's no huge problems, except for the biggest problem ever, but I don't want to talk about that right now on this podcast.
Oh, that was a gut punch.
Somebody has taken $12,000 from us, so we'll see.
But,
you might hear about that later. Who knows?
We thought it might kill the event, but no way.
No way.
We're letting this thing die.
So yeah, I've been working on Dead Wars, but I've also been watching this really cozy anime called Delicious in Dungeon.
I think I've watched the first 2 episodes of that.
Yeah, you were saying you watched the first 2 episodes, and you didn't like it?
Well, it feels very surface level to me, right? All they talk about is how to make fantasy dishes out of fantasy monsters. And that's a fun novelty, but it just wore off for me pretty quick.
It's not a real cooking anime or anything.
Yeah, like I can't actually make these dishes.
You can't go find a giant scorpion.
I can't go find a giant scorpion.
Look.
And it just felt like there was nothing deeper than that.
As a dungeon master, I really recommend Delicious in Dungeon because they approach world building from the aspect of food, which is very interesting. How would you eat this monster? So one of my favorite examples is they have carnivorous plants that eat other animals and humans if you get too close. All right, that's a classic fantasy trope. But they have very sweet and beautiful looking fruit to entice animals and people to come in and get their fruit. And then they eat you. And so, but the fact that they put in that, there's like, well, if there was a carnivorous plant
into how that
fruit,
plant would exist,
it would be very sugary and sweet and beautiful looking to entice its prey.
Yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have been really enjoying watching it with my lady.
Nice.
Because it's got a lot of world building aspect from a very unique angle.
Yeah. Cool. I might give it another shot. Because I know my lady also really likes that show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, yes. All right, let's get into the main topic today. I wanted to talk about outside events, so give us a report. How did the events go? Let's do the first event and then the second event.
So first event, WonderCon in Anaheim, California, right across the street from Disneyland. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we've ever done this event.
And WonderCon's done by the same people who do the SDCC.
Exactly. It's the San Diego Comic-Con crew that put on this event.
Yeah.
And so from every level of this event, you can tell how well organized it was when it came to the time and the space they gave the vendors to, pack in and set up their booth, how they pack everything out, how badges were given out, like everything about this event ran like clockwork. These people know how to throw an event. So that was really appreciative from us, just from the standpoint of there's no extra stress of, okay, what time do we need to be there to set up? How long do we have to restock after hours? That kind of stuff. Just everything.
Very clear.
Everything was clear and precise, which we really enjoyed.
Heck
Crowd was what you would expect from a Comic-Con like event. Lots of awesome cosplays, lots of awesome nerdy booths. So we fit right in there. And when it came to revenue, we made some pretty good money. I
Yeah, it
think
was a
we
very
hit our
solid
goal.
event for
Yeah,
us,
very
yeah.
solid event. But
And we had a very small booth.
that's true. So we had a 10 by 20, and at this point, we've outgrown our 10 by 20 spaces. Whenever we do events, we try and at least get a 20 by 20, if not larger at this point, because our product lines have grown, and the number of people we have selling at events has grown. And we had 3 people, me, Reese, and Nate, selling at this event. And to fit us and all of our product into this 10 by 20, we had to get real creative with how to fit everything. We've done some stuff that we've never done before when it comes to how we set up the booth. Like, we had the grid wall, and then we were, tiering them above each other to make shelves. It took a long time to set up, but it worked so well. I now want to do that at every single event because it worked so good for displaying and storing extra product and stuff like that.
When I saw the photos, I was like, this is our best 10 by 20 we've ever done.
For sure.
And we've done many 10 by 20s.
But it means we need to get a lot more grid wall because it took all of it. I think we had somewhere around 20 to 24 grid wall panels. We had most of them were 6 foot, some 8 foot, and it took every single one to do what we did. And we couldn't even fit 2 shelves around the whole thing because we ran out of grid wall.
Grid wall is metal wire racks that are very easy to attach with either zip ties,
that's what we do 90% of the time,
with metal clips that specially made.
Yep.
So you can then hang products, you can hang signs, but also we now discovered you can make shelves out of the grid wall, and they already have shelf things that you can hang on
inserts that you can hang,
but you can make your own shelves out of them.
We basically wanted to tackle it like a Lego problem and be like, okay, how can we make a structure with it instead of just having it be a flat wall
just
that we hang product on?
No, it looked really cool.
I have some amazing ideas of what we can do with that for some of our bigger booths, like when we go to FanX, like making tunnels with it and stuff. Now that we've figured out how to do this, I have so many ideas.
Yeah. Grid wall, expensive.
Yeah.
You're looking at like $80 to $100 per panel.
Per panel.
So it's a bit expensive, but it's definitely
a good investment for building out your booths to display and hang your product.
You start small with a 10 by 10. And
I think we bought like 5 sheets when we first started doing it.
You just keep on buying more. All right, so that was the first event.
WonderCon. Paint by numbers Comic-Con experience, which we've done 100 times. So it was great. And then we drove back home, 12 hours from Anaheim back to Utah, spent about 24 hours here, and then another 13 hours to New Mexico for
you didn't get
the
much
turnaround.
Time. You shipped out to another one.
I had time to do a load of laundry, I watch a movie with my girlfriend who missed me and I missed her, and then, back on the road.
Back on the road, baby.
And we went to New Mexico. Now, this event, we had gone to a very similar event 6 months prior, last August, the Pirate and Viking Festival, put on by the same crew. This was the Celtic Renaissance Fair.
Yep.
So we knew kind of what to expect when it came to how the event was run, but not what to expect in terms of the crowd, the people, because it was technically an event that we'd never been to.
Yeah, I knew that.
But everything ended up pretty much the same crowds and same vendors as before.
Aesthetic.
Everything Ren Fair. But what was not paint by numbers was how bad this event got wrecked by the weather.
Weather was atrocious.
It was atrocious. By the end of the event, easily 75 to 80% of the vendors had packed up and left. Even by the end of the second day, it was a 3-day event, I'd say, 70% of the vendors were gone.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
And it definitely was very draining for us to stand in the dust and the wind, getting dust in our eyes and in our teeth, but still be, able to put on that selling face and
happy and interact with customers in a grueling, cold, windy weather. No,
if you want to see clips of it, I actually just posted a video. I mean, this is coming out in a couple of weeks, but on our channel.
Together.
at We Geek Together on our Instagram and TikTok channel, you can find a video where I kind of explain and show clips of how bad the
Knocking the
dirt
snow off the tent.
and the snow and the wind was for that event. It was absolutely nuts.
Poor all of you.
Yeah.
Poor Reese.
So yeah, we have
we just hired this guy.
Yeah. Reese is awesome, by the way. He is such a hard worker, such a good salesman, and a good personable person to work with when you're with him for 24 hours every single day for extended periods. But boy, does he hate the outside.
He's a nerd. He's a dungeon master like us. So being out in the elements, he was not happy.
He was not happy. But to his credit, he never let his smile falter. He was always great with customers. Like, he freaking killed it.
Yeah, so good job, Reese.
And I've definitely had my own hard time doing with that. If I'm in a bad mood, it is so hard to like put that aside and to interact with the people how I should be. It's really hard to.
Anybody who's worked in customer service knows that. And like, I did sandwiches for 9 years. And it's so hard if you are not in the right mindset to like be able to interact with a customer and not be a jerk. Yeah, especially when you don't want to be there.
And it's not about just like not being a jerk. I find it easy to not be a jerk. What I find
well, that's good for you. There's a lot of people who don't.
What I find hard is to really turn on. I call it my selling face, right? But it's really just being open enough to be interactable with the
personable, genuine,
like if someone comes up and starts talking to me, I can talk to them just fine. I can give them the info on the products and tell them everything they need to know in a nice, friendly voice. But making that step to start talking to them in the first place, if I'm not in the right headspace, is really hard for me. And I'll just stand there kind of with my RBF. I hate that I have an RBF, but I have an RBF.
And we're gonna be talking about like the secret tips in our after hour
drinks segment.
But
but it's all about getting over that. To be personal, be approachable, but to also be approaching the customers as they're in your selling space to make sure that they have everything that they need and want out of the experience that we're providing.
I think it's really cool that you guys stuck it out. Okay? Just specifically from a money side wise, you guys did really good because you brought in even more than WonderCon. Even though I would say WonderCon had more attendees.
Yes.
This Ren Fair, you were able to bring in more. Part of the reason might be because
most of the vendors left.
50% of the vendors dropped out.
While I can completely understand why people dropped out, a lot of the vendors they're much smaller than we are. They're mom and pop. I mean,
Small.
we're a mom and pop place. We're small, but they're like one or two people, making jewelry out of their garage and then selling it at these local events for them.
Yeah.
While we're able to drive cross country now to go to these events as a slightly bigger small business.
Yeah.
So I can understand if you're, $100 one-man band, your stuff gets blown away by these 60-mile-per-hour gusts. There's not much you can do, and at that point, you can just pack up and head home because, that's kind of what the deal is.
Well, but we've never backed out of an event.
We've never backed out of an event. The only time we've ever closed down due to inclement weather is if the fair gets shut down.
Yeah,
and they stop bringing people in.
Yeah.
And they tell us to get out.
Yeah.
But we've never shut down early, that kind of thing.
I remember there was this time at Evermore where a wind gust came in and it destroyed our tent. Like absolutely,
buckled
the frame.
It bent it, completely broke it.
The tent was donezo.
Yeah.
But we still were selling.
I think we just folded up the canopy, put it on the ground, but left our tables up, and we were just in the weather, just selling.
And that was a crazy time. But I feel like, well, it's good that we have that drive because next year when they host that event, we can be like, hey, look, we stuck it out.
Yeah.
We were one of the few that believe in you.
Yeah.
And we were there, and we provided a good experience even with a terrible weather, which is
Yeah.
out of their control. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's not much you
Well,
can do.
one of the last day was the best day in terms of weather, but it was still windy. And one of the owners came by. He was very appreciative that we hadn't packed up, and we're like, and you guys get to be here today, which is gonna be, and it was the last day of the fair,
And it was a good day.
the weather was a bit better, and so that's when most of the crowds came.
Okay.
And we made like 20K in 2 days on those second 2 days. Which is really good for an event like that.
Yeah, no kidding. And so I think there's something to be said there about
sticking it out, persevering,
sticking it out.
Absolutely.
Which is not fun.
Yeah, I can't blame those other vendors for packing up and leaving. But if you have the ability to stay, you can really reap the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Events are so interesting to me, and we're still learning. Every time we go to an event, like we just learned a new way to display things, and we've been doing events for
a couple of years now,
a few years now,
4 years.
Yeah,
holy crap! It's been 4 years.
Now we've learned a new way to display. That's going to upgrade our things this year, and we have some of the biggest spaces we're going to have ever. This year, like Fan X, we've got a 20 by 30, which is
that's massive,
huge.
Like at Fan X specifically, which is bringing in 200,000 people at an event like that.
That's huge.
Like there's only a very small handful of people that are having booths that large.
Yeah, we're going to be one of the biggest booths at Fan X
at the convention,
which is crazy to think about.
It's crazy. I don't know quite how we're going to stock it with staff or product yet, but we're going to make it happen.
That's something we're going to have to figure out. So, but that's the thing is like we're never. We're always learning, we're always growing, and we're always trying to improve. And I feel like that's cool.
It's definitely a core value, I believe, of our business and our mindsets is never stop improving. Never stop pushing.
Don't just be like, this is our booth setup. This is how we do it.
Yeah, we try and do something different pretty much every single time.
Yeah. And I just finished talking to Dragonsteel today. Ooh. I can't say anything, but Dragonsteel in December is going to be awesome. That's
we
what
had
I
an amazing time last year at
Dragonsteel was one of my favorite events.
Yeah,
so.
we
Spencer
had
was there.
Multiple locations. we had a game room set up. We had 2 different vendor setups. And it was just such a fun event.
It was a good event. So yeah, I love doing outside events.
Yeah,
I miss it because being the
when was the last? So okay, you got to go to one like 2 months ago, SaltCon in
SaltCon. Yeah, I did.
But that was probably like your first one in the last.
In a bit. Since we now have an events team, and especially since we're hiring people to do events, I don't get out to events that much.
Have you ever done an out-of-state one besides Malad?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I have never done an outside event, so I miss it. Because I do like the outside events. And
it's definitely a lot of work, but you have to be able to set everything else aside for possibly up to a week. And that's not possible for someone in your position right now.
Unfortunately, I'm running a business.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm super excited for like Fan X and Dragonsteel. I'll be there.
Yeah.
And close events I can do.
What about San Diego? You got to go to San Diego?
Maybe. I don't know. It might be better to send you guys. Because you guys are cool. You guys are cool.
Yeah, but it's San Diego. None of us have been to San Diego Comic-Con either as a consumer or as a business.
I know.
And we're definitely going to be fighting over the spots that we have going to that event.
SDCC is going to be tough because we get a 10 by 10.
Yeah. We've definitely way outgrown a 10 by 10. So we're going to have to get super creative with how we stock it. Or even what we do. Like maybe we don't even sell product, but we provide an experience that is we geek together. We have to sell something we have to make that money.
There's no way. But we got to think. But experience is important.
We got to change something because if we just do a regular 10 by 10 with leather bags and laser engraved coasters, while it's super cool and we love those products. I feel like we'd have a hard time standing out at that particular event with those things.
For sure.
Yeah.
One of the exciting aspects of events are the people that you get to meet. I love this kind of stuff. I don't know. Did you guys? Oh, Nate had interesting person he met. I'll tell this, but if you have any other interesting people that you met, so Nate was able to talk to the people, the organizers of WonderCon, also at San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, maybe we could run your game room."
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah, that might be an in. We'll see.
That might be an in, and so like. Because that's one of our goals is to be able to run game rooms for these big conventions.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff we've been building up for convention games and that kind of stuff. So being able to go to an event will let you rub shoulders with other businesses.
Absolutely a good way to network.
Yeah, it's a great networking tool, and to be able to swing with some of the big dogs.
When we were in New Mexico, I remember the last day, there was this woman who walked up to me. And she gave me her card, and she's like, "Look, you guys have a great booth and a great setup. We'd love for you to come to our Renaissance Fair that we're putting on in a couple of months, I believe in May. And it's the first time they've ever run a Renaissance Fair, but they already have like 200 vendors signed up because they have a huge plot of land that they have available.
That's cool.
And so they're like, hey, you guys would be perfect. Send us an application, and we'll get you in for sure. So that's pretty cool. It absolutely, these Renaissance fairs and other events are a great way to network and to grow your connections and grow your ability to go to even more events.
Now, I follow quite a few different vendors and convention goers and artists and stuff like that. There's this guy who I follow. And unfortunately, I don't have my phone, so I can't look him up. But they're an artist, so they do like pictures and stickers and stuff like that. And he always does reviews at the event. He's like, "Hey, let me tell you about this event and what we like and what we don't like."
Yeah.
And I really like it because he shows behind the scenes, like, "Hey, this is how we changed our setup this week," and "Hey, this week we put up a TV." And we have our artist drawing, and so you can see them drawing in real time on the TV, which they've got some really cool stuff.
Yeah, that is interesting content.
Yeah. For people like me, because I liked events. But there has been quite a few events that are stinkers that he has gone to, where it's just like, this event is slow, or this event is not well organized, or this event doesn't have any people attending.
We've had a few share.
We've had a few stinkers for sure, and that's. I don't think we've ever had a disastrous event where it was like, holy cow, we lost so much money.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been a few events where it's like, it probably wasn't worth the time, the man hours we put into this.
We might have made a little bit of money.
We probably broke even and paid for the booth and paid for some of the stuff, but like...
The amount of time and effort it took might have not been
worth it.
For sure.
So what are... Because you just went 2 different events.
Yeah.
What are the things that they did well at these events that separate them from some of the other events? Or just in general, we could talk about good events.
Sure, yeah. Well, like I said, the WonderCon being put on by the San Diego crew, everything was clockwork. When the vendors got there, set up and tear down, how quick everything was to be able to tear down, and we were able to drive our truck and trailer into the convention center, which we've never done for an indoor thing, but they had a way to quickly and expediently get people with their vehicles through the building, load up and out.
That's crazy.
I know, it was super cool. I really want to make sure we can do that at
WonderCon
at Fan X. Just because it was so much nicer not having to cart after cart after cart of product and displays. So that was a standout experience really just cool. As a vendor.
Easy
made
loading
it so
and
much
unloading.
easier.
Yeah. The harder you make it for vendors to set up, like the more pain in the butt it is.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Attendees wise, both
of them were pretty good. Like, I was surprised with how many attendees were even at the Celtic Renaissance Festival.
With how
bad the weather was.
I bet if the weather was really nice, it could have even been.
It could have been bigger. The people who have been running these Ren fairs in New Mexico have been doing it for quite a few years. So when it comes to like the number of vendors and the space with the parking and everything like that, volunteers, Like, no issues with that. The only bad thing about this particular event was the weather.
Act of God. Can't really change
There's nothing that the event could have done really to deal with that.
That's really cool though.
Yeah.
I'm because both of them are very established events,
Yeah.
and so the marketing and the team behind it, like that's all well rooted and established. So
yeah,
that's really interesting.
The only complaint that some of the vendors had for the Celtic Festival was that there's nothing that the festival was doing to help provide support to the vendors who couldn't really deal with the weather. And at least for me, I feel like I don't know what they could have even done.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do.
Yeah.
You know, buy a box of hand warmers and dish it out. Like, there's not much they can do to stop the weather.
Yeah.
There's not much they can do to stop all the dirt and the wind. So it's like, they